Welcome back to the Garbage Reels. I'm your host, Jack Weber. Along with me, I have Sam Orsino.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to be talking about another terrible movie we just can't stop watching, 2017's The Fate of the Furious. So, this movie was directed by F. Gary Gray. He also did Friday, The Italian Job, Straight Outta Compton, and a lot of other rap music videos. So its cast includes just the normal people: Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Ludacris, Tyrese Gibson, and then Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Charlize Theron, and Kurt Russell, and Jason Statham. So in this movie, the description is Dom turns rogue on his family and team, aligning with an evil hacker named Cypher as they plan to wreak havoc on the world, and as Dom's former team tries any way to stop them and bring back to their side. So what were your thoughts?
My thoughts on the movie at whole, I didn't think it was that bad of a movie, if we're going to be honest. But it is one of those, you know, Mission Impossible type-esque movies that's just like, we just don't need another one.
It starts off at 100 and just keeps trying to
Yeah.
up it every action scene.
It starts out outlandish.
Yeah.
There's, so many different scenes that are just like, how do you one-up that? And then by the end of the movie, it's just like...
It starts off with a race in Cuba, and his car explodes, and he's got fire blowing straight in his face, no glass or anything. He flips the car in reverse and still wins the race.
and doesn't die.
He
Flies
doesn't
out of the
die.
car.
No, he
probably
jumps out
going-
of the car unscathed, rolls on just pavement. So,
Yeah.
I mean, people do that all the time, I thought it was okay. Overall, it wasn't the best out of any of them by any means, but it's not one that I just hate watch. Like, whenever I do watch it, it's just like, oh, this is awful. Why do I keep watching this? I do enjoy myself whenever I watch it because it's just fun at that point. I
Yeah,
feel like they're just at this point leaning into like the craziness of it.
Yeah.
Like, they know they're just like going for it every time, and they're gonna do it.
It is one of those movies that's just like, it's not made well,
No.
and it's not like, it's directed okay, and it's just like the cast is like,
I mean, most of the
but-
cast, the ones that have been there for a while, are barely even like playing an actual character at this point.
they're just themselves.
We'll get to this later in the categories, but a few of them, like, they have one thing they do the entire movie. Other than that, they don't need to be there. And a lot of the times, it's not even like a critical part of the plot, what they're doing.
They're just trying to get more face time in the movie.
Mm-hmm. And so the next action scene it has is just a whole prison fight, which in this prison is the most like completely weirdly awful design.
I didn't think it was that bad of a design.
It's just like a bunch
say.
of like individual cells stacked next to each other with like, it's like two at a time with like 20 feet gaps, and then it's set up in a weird tiered system, like it's designed for a huge brawl. I don't know.
What
I
is
thought
a
it was.
movie?
It is a movie, and it is a Fast and Furious movie, so it's not going to be like the most realistic thing by any means. But yeah, it's all just, they're just going for it, hitting for the fences in every point of the movie.
Yeah, in that scene too, The Rock rips out a concrete slab from the wall.
Yeah. The Rock and Dom both have just like superhuman strength or something in this.
And he starts curling like the concrete bench, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, we get it.
I thought, so he and Jason Statham, they have a lot of scenes together, and obviously they're just like bickering back and forth. Their banter actually works for me a lot of the times. Like, it's a lot better than Tyrese Gibson's humor, which I feel like at this point he's just there to just give some sarcastic remark or yell or something. But whenever The Rock and Statham are like bickering with each other, it's actually pretty funny.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think they have the best.
It's pretty witty
Like,
banter.
yeah.
Like, it's not like a Marvel movie, how that's just like kind of cheap jokes right there. This one is actually like well thought out, seemingly insults.
And they're actually allowed to throw insults without having to blur the lines between what is okay for Disney and what's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think with that, we'll move into the categories. There's not much to say on this movie. It's a Fast and Furious movie. You know what it is. You know what it is going into it. You know what to expect,
Yeah.
and it gives it to you. So the categories today are going to be best quote, best performance, worst performance, the most crazy, outlandish slash favorite scene, what has aged the best, what has aged the worst, who won the movie, and who lost the movie. So my best quote is from Jason Statham. It's to The Rock. He walks into, I think, one of like their little meeting rooms, and he says to him, "You know, I think that tight T-shirt is cutting off the circulation to your brain. You should get a bigger size." And he just kind of sums up like their entire like dynamic between each other, because none of them are like actually hurtful insults. They're just kind of like just
They're like
talking
chipping
trash
away.
to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just whatever they can see right there. It's like, all right, that's going.
One of I think my best quote from the movie is whenever The Rock and one of the agents are at his daughter's soccer game, and he says, The Rock goes, he basically goes on a whole spiel. If he doesn't win that game, he's gonna have to take care of a lot of little girls, and take them out, go out to ice cream parlor and a Tay Tay concert, and he goes, Tay Tay, and he goes, Taylor Swift, goddammit. And he's just like goes off, and it's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be my favorite quote of that.
So moving on from there, the best performance, I have two. I have Charlize Theron as the villain Cypher. I think she's really good. I always think she's really good. She's very I don't know how to say this. It's kind of like seductive in the way she's playing it, but it's just menacing at the same time, almost like Sly.
She does that
In
kinda
about
same
90%
role.
of her
Yeah,
movies.
all of her movies kind of play the same part, but it's very good. I don't
mean-
know why they gave her like dreads in this movie,
Yeah, that was a weird
But-
decision. I want to know who did that.
but I thought it was fun, just because it gave her a new look. Like you saw earlier or later on, it showed her in like short hair on one of her recon missions. But I like the long haired look.
It's just a weird look for her. One, because they're not like actual dreads. It looks like they just took little strands of her hair and curled
Probably
and
just like braided each strand out.
yeah, and then just unbraided it or something. But it's just a weird look for her. But it kind of does fit with just the vibe of her like hackers, because when we see her other hackers, they're not like weird looking people. They look kind of normal. I mean, they probably spend a lot of time at the computer screen, so they have that kind of a look to them, like a little pudgy, like facial hair and stuff. But it fits with that vibe. And the other performance I have is Jason Statham as Deckard Shaw. Jason Statham really just kind of plays the same action hero in every role, just like Charlize Theron does. But in this one, he gets to like actually talk. And again, like we've been talking about his banter between The Rock, that's just what helps it so much in this movie. So how about yours?
Yeah, my the best performance for me, or the best actor, was the Cypher.
Mm-hmm.
I think she did a great job, and throughout her role, it's just kind of like always the same thing, but it's always on cue.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always up there with being one of the best performances in the movie.
Like it's subtle but very
Yeah.
threatening how she
Yeah.
plays it. Like
And there was so many times where she would whisper,
Yep.
and she would be like, damn, if she was doing this to me, I'd be intimidated.
yeah.
And it's just like, she plays that part really well.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the worst performances, I again have two, and so the first one, what I think is really probably the worst, is Michelle Rodriguez. She's just awful in this. I think she can do two emotions. It's either disgusted or angry, and they're about the same facial expressions.
Mhm.
Like there's not much difference. Other than that, she doesn't really have a role in this movie besides doing one of those two parts. Because for most of the movie, she's just angry at Dom, or like trying to get Dom back, and she's got an angry face on her. And so she doesn't have much time to go into other emotions. And I guess by the 8th movie, I think she's been in about 6 of them at this point. I think they've explored a lot, hopefully explored a lot of her character. But even so, I think she should have some more range to how she plays that character.
I don't even know if she has range.
That's the other thing.
If we're going to be honest here, because in all of her things that she does, is always just like,
She's always the
Oh,
badass
no.
female action hero. She was the same in Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar,
yeah.
and every other Fast and Furious movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one I have is Scott Eastwood. He's like the
Nobody.
government agent in
Yeah.
training or something. He's just, I mean, they were trying to replace Paul Walker, his like role in the group, and this one just falls short. I don't think, I mean, nobody can recapture what he did, but they make him try so hard. They even give him like a Subaru to always sit in, just a different model for car each action scene. But his performance just doesn't work. He tries to build off that banter that The Rock and Statham have, but do it with Tyrese Gibson, and those two just don't mix well, I don't think.
So my worst was the same as yours. Her name is Letty in the movie, and there's so many parts of this movie. It's just like they'll pan to her, and she's just got the same exact
Like a scowl.
Yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
why Dominic?
Mm-hmm.
And they always get so defensive so quickly in this movie too.
Well,
where
they are
it's like,
family. That's the whole thing. Like, family
Bruh.
protects family or something.
No,
It is.
because whenever
yeah.
the one hacker chick that's on the team was like, "Yo, maybe you just went rogue," and she like went off, I was like, "Dude, chill.
Yeah.
Like, calm down." He did go rogue, like Dominic.
He
went rogue.
like took out the Rock whenever he was driving away, and then he blows up their little headquarters
Yeah.
thing. I think he's gone
You
fully
don't
rogue.
you don't T-bone someone and have them almost die in a car accident, and you're just chill with them.
Yeah. So moving on from there is the crazy, outlandish favorite scene. So mine is the prison break with The Rock and Jason Statham when they're like, it's a maximum security prison, and then the cells unlock and it's just a whole prison riot and they just fight their way out. Because that one that we already talked about, that prison is designed for a fight and it works
That's what he
too.
thinks. That's what he thinks. I think it's fine.
But it's just like prisoners are fighting prisoners. Guards are even. I saw a guard shooting a guard at one point in there. They're firing rubber bullets at both The Rock and Statham. They're just letting them bounce off of each other, and they're just throwing people around. At one point, I think The Rock like swings out his hands in like a T position thing, like in punching two people behind him, and just flips them whenever he hits them. And then Jason Statham is over there running on walls, jumping over people. It's awesome.
Yeah, I like that scene too. My favorite scene is one of the opening scenes when the wrecking ball comes in.
Oh.
So for a little context on that, they're basically escaping in the first scene. They're trying to escape somewhere with this IED,
EMP.
I almost said IUD, which I know I was going to mess up. That would have been hilarious, but EMP and
They have a bunch of cops on their tail.
Yeah.
And Tej, Ludacris's character.
Yeah. He drops.
He tells them to like get in formation, and this is all like this is a shock to a few of them, and they still are all able to like split apart perfectly, and just a wrecking ball just like
comes down
and
swings, demolishes them all, and then swings back, and takes care of the rest, and then they're off to freedom. I thought that was.
I mean, it's just
a fun scene.
Because it seems like this job was a very like spur of the moment job they had to do. Like there was this EMP that got stolen, so we got to steal it back or something. I think is how they presented it.
Yeah, who had the time to set that up?
Yeah, and somebody went on there and put a little device on the clip just to make sure it just like unclasps right whenever he presses the button. And then I think we have to talk about the finale. So the finale of the movie, the final fight, is a giant nuclear submarine trying to get to the edge of this like Marina Bay area, and they're racing to get to the end of it to close this sea gate. And that's the whole thing. Like they just have to beat the submarine, and the submarine's coming out of the ice. It's shooting torpedoes at them. There's a whole bunch of other cars from like these unnamed separatist enemies chasing them that they have to kill. And then the final part of it, which is just the craziest thing in the entire movie to me, is Dom leads a missile that's traveling after him. He jumps over the submarine, and as that happens, like the missile comes and hits the submarine and blows it up. And Dom gets out of his car while it's like rolling
on fire.
On fire. He gets out of it, slides on ice. All the other team members like slide to stop him. And the fire just goes right over the cars and just never goes back down. Doesn't go under the cars. Dom is perfectly safe. It almost like there's the cars here and the fire just goes straight up and stops. it's
Physics is blown out of that one.
it shouldn't work. And then they show a wide shot after, and the fire, it's just like soot and burn marks
Yeah.
just going straight on like a V formation off of the car, and that's it. It's gone.
Mhm.
There's nothing else. And I think he has a little soot on him, no scratches, no bruises, no nothing.
It's one of those scenes where it's just like, we couldn't have tried harder to make it realistic.
Yeah. Maybe like have a car that he just like somehow rolls into or something, like, because I think
Or like,
one of them,
or like go right against him to where it's like more believable that the fire would go over and not touch him.
yeah.
Because the fire is going to go up and over those cars, and it's going back down. It's
Because
not
I'm
going-
sure there was a car that had an empty seat, passenger seat in it, and it wouldn't be beyond the realm of Fast and Furious possibility for them to have the door open on one of those cars, and he just rolls right into it from his car.
yeah.
It's a weird decision they did, and it's hilarious when you notice it because it's just breaks every single law of physics, thermodynamics, everything. So moving on from that, we have the age the best and age the worst. So my age the best is the concept of them adding new team members. So in this movie, they add Scott Eastwood, the little government agent in training, as obviously a Paul Walker stand-in. And they also add Jason Statham, who's the villain in the previous movie, as like a team member to take down Charlize Theron because she had wronged his family in some way. And I think it's a cool concept for them to do because it can give the series more longevity. We can take out
Obviously,
characters.
you can have spin-offs too, just like Hobbs and Shaw.
Obviously, yep. It can give us new characters to explore, like new relationships between characters, like friendships and stuff, and just like how they interact with each other. And they can, if they need to, they can take out or retire characters that don't have anything else to do or anywhere else to go. They can just like say, okay, we're going to shelve them, bring in this person from X movie, and it can actually give it more like a newer feel to it, not just the same thing every time. How about yours?
Yeah, so Age the Best for me was Dom
Really?
in this movie. He was such a badass in this movie. That's like I understand, his whole family thing.
Mhm.
I don't know how he can turn his back on his wife on a drop of a dime like that. Kind of wild to me.
Yeah, so the reason he turns the whole thing is he apparently had a child with this, I think it's an FBI agent or maybe a Brazilian cop from the fifth movie, I believe.
It was either fifth or the sixth.
Yeah.
I think it was the fifth.
It's when he didn't know Letty was alive. That was a whole thing. Letty dies and then she doesn't. But he doesn't know
Should've
she has a
died.
kid, and Cypher kidnapped this woman and the baby, and that's what gets Dom to turn.
Easily turn. As
Easily.
well.
Just like doesn't
Yeah.
look back.
But there was one also my favorite and outlandish scenes where it's my craziest scene. Whenever the New York cars all fly in and then they fly out
Mhm.
of the garages in New York, and then he stands on top with his mask and he's like,
Oh, all the
He-
self-driving cars, they like
Yeah.
punt out of the parking
Yeah.
garage.
and whenever he stands in the car, he just looks so
Intimidating.
intimidated. And then whenever he's that whole chase scene where he's just like,
The car has like a 6,000 horsepower
Yeah.
and just what looks like a tiny engine in there. Like,
yeah,
it's
and
unreal.
But he's such a badass. When they all get clipped to his car to try and hold him down, he just gets away like it's nothing.
Yeah, the way he does it is unreal because they're all pulling him from different directions, and he's able to like go forward a little bit and like pull Tyrese Gibson's car, and then he like pulls the Rock and Statham, and then just like flips Scott Eastwood and Michelle Rodriguez into each other.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and so that's why Age's the best. He can be the bad guy and look like such a badass,
Mm-hmm.
but then he also is just like so easily welcomed back into the family, which is kind of totally outlandish for me.
Yeah.
But then he's always the good guy, no
Mhm.
matter what, even if he's playing that bad guy role.
So my age the worst is mine is Russia being kind of like the final location where a nuclear submarine is being taken hostage and nuclear codes are getting stolen from them, because if that was real, and even now with everything that's been happening with Russia, they would have started a war with the United States immediately.
I don't think I would go that far, especially since they did make it a point that they were separatist.
I just think if their codes have been stolen from some Russian diplomat, like they were in New York, Russia would not
Yeah.
have just been like, okay, because
Yeah.
they never talk about anything else. So how about your age the worst?
My age the worst was the franchise in general. They had such a good ending in the seventh, where it was Paul Walker and um, Dominic Toretto driving off their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was such a good way to end the series off, and it was just a really good way to, remember him.
I mean, with the amount of money that movie made, there's no way they end it.
I understand that, but it's just like, but then we have things like this where we talk about how bad this movie is.
That's true.
So it's like, you had some great movies, you had some not so great movies. Like, maybe it's time to run with those spin-offs or run with something else that's kind of similar, or maybe diverge it into a new way.
Mm-hmm. Get more like individual focus movies instead of
Yeah.
these team ones like this.
Yeah. Where it just gets, it's like, I know you go into this movie not thinking it's going to be a good movie.
You're expecting
Expecting just like a crazy
scenes.
car scene and people getting thrown off buildings,
Mhm.
and like apparently Dominic Toretto jumping out of 14 cars and not having a scratch on him.
Yeah.
So that's why the franchise for me was aged the worst.
Okay, so moving on from there, we have who won the movie and who lost the movie. So for who won the movie, I just have the action stars of the movie, which includes Vin Diesel, The Rock, and Jason Statham. So Vin Diesel he's barely doing anything. This movie he does more than usual. He gets to like actually yell and show emotion at times. But other than that, he's barely acting. One, because he's not really saying much, and when he does it, it's a very monotone voice. And he just makes so much money, and he just gets to keep coming back and doing these movies. I think he's got 2 more left or 1 more left.
Well, the thing is for that too, he shows a lot of emotion through his body language. So like he doesn't even need to talk that much.
Okay. And then The Rock, he got his own spinoff after this, Hobbs and Shaw, and it made a good amount of money. And he got away from Vin Diesel after their famous feud, where he can just like be himself, essentially be his own action hero and just beat people up constantly, and just gets to keep doing that like banter with Jason Statham. And Statham obviously gets to shine in this movie. He has the chemistry with The Rock. He gets the Hobbs and Shaw as well. And then he has his little action scene at the end saving Dom's son on the plane, where he's like keeping this child safe in like a little like carrier thing. I don't know what it's actually called. And he's just like fighting all these people on the plane, and it's a pretty good action scene. He keeps coming back to the baby, and he's having like real funny reactions to whatever he's saying, because he's got like Alvin and the Chipmunks playing on his headphones. So who's your one in the movie?
The one in the movie for me was kind of similar. It was just The Rock for me though. He has had so much like growth, especially like he's not going away anytime soon. He's having this spin-off. He's having so many other movies where it's just like he's a voice actor or he's something else, but he's just raking in the dough.
And I think Hobbs and Shaw is getting a sequel to that as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many movies coming out that he's just like the essential role, which
Like
is
he's
like
the draw.
He
He's
is.
like the Will Smith of the 90s and 2000s. He puts
especially
people in
he gets to be with like Kevin Hart in half these movies, which are like, I know their relationship, or at least from what we get to see, are like they're like best friends.
Yeah.
So it's like he just gets to have fun, and like they're not like crazy, like they're not always crazy actions like stuff too. So he can like, take a break from all that kind of stuff. But but he's been branching out, and he's doing a lot of different stuff, and he's trying to do like comedy stuff, and he's trying to do some other stuff. So it's like,
I mean,
it's good for him.
famously, he has the Black Adam movie he's been promoting like nobody else.
Yeah, I
Coming
don't
out
think
November or
that's
December.
definitely gonna look bad.
Yeah. So who lost the movie? Our final category. So mine is the franchise. So I think it's essentially just a low quality, like a Cars focused Mission Impossible at this point, and it's not even like interesting. Like it's enough to where like, okay, I'll watch this, but it's not like like I'm getting ready, like, okay, let's watch this. Like, I can't wait for this. It's kind of like, let's see what they do now. Let's see
Yeah.
how crazy they get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've already pushed it to, the limits, I feel like. Who lost the movie for me? Dom's baby. Dom's baby lost the movie for me.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Because he gets his mom's killed right in front of him, and he has to deal with Dom and Lydia's parents. Like, you lost. You lost right then and there. My thing is, dude, Dom cannot be a good father, and Letty cannot be a good mother.
Well, I don't know. They're very, very strong believers in family.
Yeah, he'll have a good childhood and all, but, like, bro, until he has to find out who his mom really is. Some Brazilian chick who was a cop, but, got shot right in front of him when he was 2 years old.
Yeah, he's gonna have to go through some therapy. 100%.
Before we wrap up, I would love to talk about one last scene, and it is the most outrageous, outlandish scene in the whole movie for me.
Oh, you got
is
another
whenever
one?
Cypher and Dom first break in to steal God's Eye from, like, their facility base.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cypher makes out with Dom right in front of his wife, and Dom just stands there. I thought it was
so out of place.
Yeah, it was so uncalled
it's
for.
never addressed again. Dom doesn't even after the fact just be like, "What was that?" or something, in like his grunty voice.
And
or
Letty's
even,
just like, "Oh."
like I know
whatever.
why she did it, just to be like, "Oh, look how far he's gone." Like he doesn't even think about you anymore. But it's just like you couldn't have thought of anything else.
Oh, God.
It
was so wild.
like
It was so
instead
wild.
of it, I feel like they should have honestly had him just like, it's dark what I'm about to suggest, but just like have him shoot somebody. That's just like, all right, they're done. Like we don't need that character anymore, because again, a lot of these characters just aren't really an actual character. Like Ludacris is either tech and car stuff, or he just bickers with Tyrese. Tyrese is just comedy and sarcasm. And
I like him in that role, though.
he's okay. And then Ramsey is just hacking. Like she has, I think, 20 lines in the entire movie.
Yeah, it's.
It was,
I just thought that was outrageous.
That scene was. It makes no sense.
She just walks up and she's just like. But that kind of fits her character too, just to like do whatever the fuck she wants, cause like why not? So it's like.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me make out with him in front of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, if I had to give this movie a rating, I think I would go with like a 6.2.
I'm still going with a 4. I mean.
No, because it's like it's fun, and I enjoy it, but it's like I don't gain anything from it, other than just like having it be a distraction from life. I guess I don't know.
To me, it's just there's too many things I see that just are glaring problems, plot holes, or just like nitpicks. Where it's just like I can't ignore this. This is just too much.
But it's one of those movies that's like they're not trying to be those things.
Yeah.
They're just trying to be stupid.
I understand. Okay, I think with that we'll wrap it up. You can find this episode of The Garbage Reel on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Just search The Garbage Reel on any one of those platforms. I'd like to thank Jake Drew for, again, helping us with the cameras for YouTube watchers and helping us with any last audio touches. And I'd like to thank Sam Orsino for stopping by and hopping on the pod again. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace.